Right now, there is a voice in your head. It's not speaking out loud. There's no one else in the room. It's just a voice, silently narrating your entire life back to you. It talks to you more than any person you will ever meet. It has an opinion on everything you do. And you've never once had to introduce yourself to it. It feels completely normal, completely yours. But what if for 99% of human history, that voice wasn't yours? What if it wasn't private? What if it wasn't, as far as the people hearing it were concerned, coming from inside their own mind at all? Here is the number that changes everything. Humans, looking and moving just like you do, have existed for roughly 300,000 years. Yet one theory suggests the constant inner voice you are listening to right now, the one judging you, overthinking, and keeping you awake, has only existed for about 3,000 years. Not 300,000, 3,000. Compared to how long our species has been alive, that voice moved into your head a few minutes ago, and it's already acting like it owns the house. So, what was happening inside every human skull for the other 297,000 years? The answer comes from one of the strangest, most controversial theories in the history of psychology. To understand it, we have to look at the oldest stories ever written down. Open Homer's Iliad. Throughout the entire epic, whenever a character has to make a major decision, change their mind, or calm down, they don't look inward. A god appears, stands at their shoulder, and tells them exactly what to do. For centuries, modern scholars read this as pure poetry, a literary flourish. We assumed the gods were just a metaphor for a man talking to himself. But a Princeton psychologist named Julian Jaynes looked closer. He argued that Homer wasn't writing a metaphor at all. He believed Homer may have been describing what it felt like to experience a thought 3,000 years ago. It didn't seem to arrive from inside your own mind. It appeared to arrive as a voice from somewhere outside of you. If it was just the Greeks, we could dismiss it. But it wasn't. Civilizations with absolutely zero contact with each other, separated by massive oceans and thousands of miles, all described the exact same human experience. From the pharaohs of ancient Egypt to the philosophers of early Greece, our ancestors consistently insisted that they didn't generate their own choices. They heard a voice or a presence that guided them from the outside. Jaynes called this the bicameral mind, literally a two-chambered brain. Picture the ancient brain as a house with two rooms that didn't share a hallway yet. The right side of the brain would process a problem, look for danger, and make a decision. But because the two halves weren't fully integrated, the only way the left side could receive that information was to experience it as a physical, auditory voice speaking from the dark. To be clear, modern science still debates this fiercely, and plenty of serious researchers think the theory goes too far. But nobody has fully explained why so many ancient cultures described something remarkably similar. Jaynes believed they didn't think their thoughts, they heard them. And then, around 3,000 years ago, the world broke. In a terrifyingly short window, the entire Bronze Age collapsed. Massive empires fell apart. Great cities were burned to the ground. Trade routes stopped. Chaos, overpopulation, and brutal wars forced entirely different cultures to smash together just to survive. And right in the middle of this trauma, the human brain was forced to adapt. Fast. Archaeologists have dug up writing from the people who lived through this collapse. They aren't records of laws or taxes. They are records of pure psychological panic. One surviving ancient text reads like a scream into the void. The writer cries out that the gods have gone silent, that they no longer answer, no matter how many times they are called. Think about that. That line is 3,000 years old, and it reads exactly like a text message a lonely person might send at 2 a.m. today. As the theory suggests, this was the moment the bicameral mind broke. The wall between the two rooms crumbled. For the first time in human history, our ancestors were left completely, terrifyingly alone inside their own skulls. But the voice never actually left. It just moved. When the external gods went quiet, the mechanism didn't break, it integrated. The voice stopped sounding like it came from the sky and started sounding like it came from within. The gods became thoughts. The divine command became your inner monologue. What was once experienced as a voice from the outside became a voice from the inside. And every single human born since has inherited this same ancient psychological architecture without ever being given the instruction manual. So the next time that voice in your head won't shut up, when it's keeping you awake, screaming about your anxieties, doubting your choices, or obsessing over things you can't control, maybe there's more to it than most people realize. There is nothing simple about that voice. For thousands of years, humans treated it as something sacred, something powerful enough to shape civilizations, guide rulers, and inspire entire religions. Nobody treated it as meaningless background noise. Nobody assumed it was something to ignore. But today, the relationship is different. What was once interpreted as guidance is often called overthinking. What was once interpreted as wisdom is often called anxiety. What was once experienced as something beyond the self is now experienced as the self. For 3,000 years, humanity has been trying to make sense of the same voice. We just keep giving it different names. Maybe that's why the voice feels so strange sometimes. Because it doesn't always feel entirely like you. It argues with you, questions you, warns you, interrupts you. Sometimes it sounds like your best advisor. Sometimes it sounds like your worst enemy. And yet, no matter how far you run from it, it follows. Maybe the real question was never where the voice came from. Maybe the real question is why it never left.